Hello everyone and welcome to the Self-Esteem 101 webinar. My name is Jessica and I'm really excited to have you here with me today, and I'm looking forward to all the great conversation we're going to have. So a little bit of background on me before we get started. I am a licensed mental health counselor and I work in South Florida, and my background is mainly in addiction. I've worked for the past 6 years on my career in substance abuse treatment centers. Among the thousands of people I've worked with, I've come to find a common theme with people: low self-worth. I've concluded that in general, most people don't like some part of who they are. And this could really look like what they look like, where they are in life, how they move, their nose, what the mistakes they've made. It could literally be anything. I've developed this webinar specifically as a free resource for you to get better acquainted and learn the basics of self-esteem and what it will take for you to begin a journey of self-love and acceptance when you choose to do so. Working in the healthcare field, I am no stranger to the current availability and affordability of mental health services in the United States, and I created my business with the sole purpose of providing education on mental health issues. Now, the business is still in its early stages, and so I will be developing more webinars similar to this one on other topics. However, I did want to start with self-esteem because, like I said, self-esteem is huge and I think it's overlooked, especially in the field. So before we get started, I wanted to let you know that the webinar is a little bit more interactive, so use that chat box right there. I hope you see it, and we will go ahead and get started. Again, welcome and thank you for joining me. This webinar is designed and created to self-lovers just like you. It is time that you put that self-critic bat down and learn how to give yourself some love. What most people don't know is that self-love and acceptance is an absolute necessity in life. Loving who you are as a person and treating yourself accordingly is not selfish. If you want to love your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, you must be able to know how to love yourself first. Loving yourself, again, is not selfish. It is necessary to sustaining your well-being and the well-being of those around you. Here is what we will be covering today. We are going to talk about what self-esteem is and what it looks like, what it feels like, where it comes from, the 3 biggest mistakes that you probably make in trying to love yourself and what to do instead, making self-love a daily practice, and I will also give you my recommendations for getting started in the self-love journey. At the end, we will do some question and answer stuff, and I do have an exclusive offer just for you for today. So let me start off by asking you what your perceptions of self-esteem are. What do you think self-esteem is? I'll go ahead and give you a few seconds to write in your answers. Okay, it's the level of confidence you have with yourself. Awesome answer. How you feel about yourself? Very good. Okay, all right, very good, guys. Awesome job. First, I want to talk about the difference between self-esteem, self-worth, self-acceptance, and self-love. First, self-esteem is your perception of yourself externally. So this could mean your appearance, your capabilities, or your talents, maybe, the external stuff. Whereas self-worth is your perception of yourself internally. And this is your perception of your inherent worth as a human being. So there is a really big difference between the two, and I know those terms are used interchangeably, and that's perfectly okay as long as you understand the difference between the two. So self-esteem and self-worth. Self-esteem is, like I said, appearance, your accomplishments or lack thereof, your talents, what you're able to do. Self-worth is how you feel about yourself, your worth, and your deservingness as a human being. Next, we have self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is being okay with who you are right now. Your flaws, your mistakes, your quirks, your knees, your ears, everything right now. You're okay with it. And self-love is more of an action word. It means that you are actively taking care of yourself. whether it's healthy exercise, eating well, proper hygiene, healthy relationships, whatever it is. It is how you treat yourself. So, how are you showing yourself love? It's going to be really important to know that answer. So, also something important to realize is there is a difference between that self acceptance and self love. Self acceptance is the practice of self compassion, letting yourself be you. Self love is taking action to continually improve your well being, mind, body, and soul, because you know that you're deserving to do so. So, for today's talk, I'm just going to use self esteem as the go to term just to keep things simple because I don't want to get all of the terms mixed up. So, when we talk about self esteem, basically it's how you feel about yourself. Easy, right? Well, I mean, not exactly. Although this is true, there is so much that goes into why you feel the way you do about yourself. And I wanted to talk about 4 basic factors that go into your self esteem. The first factor today is your environment. Your environment is huge, especially in this society. Both males and females are told in major media how they should dress, what they should be doing, how they should look and act, what kind of work they should be doing, all sorts of stuff. Same with family. Family is also part of your environment, and family is a huge factor on your self-esteem. If you don't conform to societal norms, you're made to feel different and disconnected from the community, which triggers low self-esteem and low self-worth. The next factor I wanted to talk about today is your experiences, and experiences are an essential factor. For example, if you were bullied as a child, you experienced loss or some kind of abuse, you're more likely to have low self-esteem. What happens to us in life is huge. It matters. Our experiences kind of shape our behaviors and the way that we think about things. So, which brings me to the next factor, which is perceptions. Your perceptions are basically how you interpret the world around you, and this is also a vital factor. If someone told you that you weren't good enough, some of you might shut down and be depressed and isolate, whereas some of you might get really angry and act impulsively, and some of you might prove whoever said that wrong by putting all of your motivation into proving them wrong. So everyone interprets and perceives their world a little bit differently. And the last factor is personality. Your personality is also a huge factor. Some of you are probably a little more sensitive than others and might be more affected by other people's opinion of you. On the other hand, someone who is more extroverted might be more likely to be affected than an introvert because extroverts get their energy from being social, which poses a risk of being rejected and judged. So personality is also huge. How you react to your environment and your experiences deeply affect your perceptions of life. So basically, to summarize, your environment and experiences become internalized into your psyche by how you perceive your outside world, and how you perceive your world depends greatly on your personality traits. So before I move on, are there any questions? I see a no. Okay, another no. No questions? Everything's making sense? Beautiful. What does self-esteem feel like? So I have two charts here. One is we'll look at as low self-esteem. This is what low self-esteem feels like. And it might feel like shame, it might feel like self-pity, depression, anxiety, or addiction. Now, when I talk about addiction, I'm not only talking about those hardcore drugs and alcohol. Everybody numbs and takes the edge off, whether it's food, spending money, getting lost in YouTube videos, television, or Facebook. You know, we all numb to some extent. What I want you to ask yourself today is, why do you feel the need to numb? What are you avoiding? You don't have to answer here, but it's good stuff to think about. So on the right-hand side is what good self-esteem feels like. It feels like confidence. Having confidence in your ability to get things done, to be who you are, whatever it looks like. You might feel more energized. You might feel more at peace with yourself, and you might even feel a little bit sexy. And lastly, I want to talk about moxie or gumption because it's kind of a good summarization of all of those feelings. So moxie and gumption are more or less determination and self-initiative. And I love these words because when I imagine somebody having determination, I think of someone super serious about getting something done. But with moxie and gumption, I imagine a person with a fiery spirit and a daring confidence. And I'm just picturing somebody like that in my life now, and it looks good. I am actually one of those people, but I love looking at those people because I know they have good self esteem. So, my question for you, and again, don't answer this, is which one is you right now? You know, which one do you feel like? Another good question is what does low self esteem look like? Now, all of these are just a few of the many indicators that you might have low self esteem. The first one I want to talk about today is poor boundaries. It's the inability or high struggle to say no when you need to. And poor boundaries is essentially you not taking good care of yourself, and people, take advantage of you, they manipulate you, they don't treat you the way that you should be treated. Which brings me to the next point, unhealthy relationships. Now, this could be abusive relationships, controlling, distant, feeling used by somebody else. You just might feel like a doormat. The next one is dissatisfaction at work. Now, this could be more where you just don't do anything to change your circumstances, like asking for a raise or taking a risk to get a promotion for fear of failure. Or maybe your boss doesn't listen to any of your great ideas, so you end up taking a back seat at work and don't feel like a valuable employee. The next one I also love, inability to stand up for yourself. So if somebody's treating you poorly or disrespecting you, you don't stand up for it yourself. You brush it off like it's, oh, it's no big deal, or I won't let them get to me, when really that should be something that you should be correcting in your life. So inability, or you just don't do it at all, you just don't stand up for yourself. The next one I love, codependent relationships. So to put simply, if you're a codependent, you highly struggle with being alone. So this could be intimate relationships or friendships, family, whatever it is. So you might be called clingy, controlling, or dramatic. Now, the next one I could talk for days about. It's the struggle to accept compliments. So you may discount the compliment altogether, or you might just play it down. But either way, compliments make you feel wildly uncomfortable. So I'm a good example of this. Before I started my own work, I used to, shoot down every compliment that I get. Like, oh, these old shoes, I've had these forever. Or, oh, thank you for the compliment, my hair, it looks okay. Or I didn't do anything to it today. I couldn't just say thank you and move on because, I think a lot of people, don't believe that, the compliment's true. They don't believe they deserve a compliment, or they might be distrusting of the other person, maybe thinking that the other person doesn't have their best interest in mind. So I mean, it's irrational to think that, that person might just want to give you a compliment. Weird, right? So it's that struggle. So the next one is non-assertive communication. You might have a more aggressive communication style. You might be passive aggressive or straight up passive in your communication style. And this is a good indicator that you struggle with self-esteem because you have a hard time clearly getting your point across about what you want and need in life from yourself or somebody else. And next is pretty controversial in my line of work, but I love controversy, so I love to talk about it. And that's self-harm or unhealthy risk-taking. And this could be as simple as reckless driving or as severe as cutting or burning yourself. Maybe you're an adrenaline junkie and aren't satisfied until you put your life at risk. Or maybe you're a binge eater, or maybe you starve yourself. Maybe you take working out to an unhealthy level. Maybe you've dyed your hair so much it looks like wire and it's not healthy anymore. Self-harm comes in many different shapes and sizes. And it's how you treat yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, that's a good indicator that you don't feel like you deserve to. And lastly, it's that lack of sense of purpose in life. So this can be a good indicator of low self-esteem because if you don't have a sense of yourself, maybe who you are, if you walk around feeling like you don't have a purpose in life, then that's really going to enhance that, negative feeling you have towards yourself. So these are just a few of the many examples, but these are the most common and what I see working with my clients. Now on to the good stuff. In both my professional and personal experiences, I've come to learn that there are three major mistakes that people make when they try to do something about their self-esteem. And I wanted to share my insights with you today so that when you decide to start your self-love journey, you won't make the same mistakes or you can avoid them altogether. So let's go ahead and take a look. Mistake number 1, you have not let go of your past. Many professionals in my field say, including me, say that you cannot move forward in life with where you're at if you're consistently dragged down by unresolved feelings and turmoil about your past. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Brene Brown. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to look her up because she's amazing. She is fantastic when it comes to, teaching about living in your truth and moving through shame. But she says this, no one writes for free. It's not about if we go through hard things, but how we go through hard things. And it's not about if we are crazy, but how we are crazy. So when she says that no one writes for free, she's referring to life. We all go through hard things in life. So whether that's grief and loss, trauma or abuse, some form of betrayal, divorce, physical injuries or chronic pain, loss of jobs, it can be literally anything that we perceive as difficult, and it sucks. So, and when we go through these things, it tends to shape who we are unconsciously. So referencing back to what we just talked about with environment, experiences, personality, and perceptions, your past unresolved struggles create distorted core beliefs about yourself. And you carry these beliefs with you throughout life and operate based off of them. So loving yourself will be almost impossible if you don't make peace with your past and learn how to challenge these negative core beliefs. So the problem with this, you haven't let go of your past, is it hinders your future. And most times your past causes your low self-esteem anyway. So how would you expect to love yourself and accept who you are if you cannot accept the events that shaped you? I like to use the ball and chain reference. So if you're trying to climb a mountain or a flight of stairs, climb a tree or whatever it is, and you have a ball and chain linked to your foot, you're not going to get very far, or it's going to be very, very difficult to get anywhere. So I like to call, I guess we can call it baggage for today. Your emotional struggles and, your past is that ball and chain. If you don't learn to carry it a different way or let go of it altogether, you're not going to be able to move forward in loving yourself. Mistake number 2, fake it until you make it. Now, let me preface by saying that I love positive affirmations. I think they can do wonders for changing mental habits and creating a positive mindset. However, the problem lies when you tell yourself something that you don't believe. So, and we hear this all the time when we practice positive affirmations. If we don't believe the affirmation, we're supposed to say it until we start believing it. So we fake it until we make it, right? And for some people, this works. For some people, this works. They develop their own positive mantras and repeat them over in the mirror daily until they believe it. And that's wonderful. But what about the rest of us? I know that I'm not one of those people. Inner critic kicks in immediately and tells me that the mantras aren't true. So what you need to do is first evict that inner critic so he or she cannot disrupt your self-love journey. To do this, you will need to correct or challenge your core beliefs, which are more than likely distorted, as well as making peace with your past. If you try to tell yourself that you're beautiful or worthy every day when you truly believe the exact opposite, this is where it becomes problematic. Faking it until you make it is like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. It might help you short term, but if you need surgery, a Band-Aid's not going to do any long term. And that's essentially, for most of us, what positive affirmations are. They're a Band-Aid when really we need emotional surgery. And mistake number 3, having a lack of vision for what you want. You may know that you want to feel better about yourself, but what does better mean? What would better look like? What would better look like in your life? Many of us don't have this answer. We know we want to feel better, we know we want to look better, we want to do better, whatever it is, but we don't have a clear path for where that is. We don't have a clear roadmap. And this is problematic Because if you don't have a clear vision for what you want, there aren't enough goals in the world that will help you get there. And I like to use the Grand Canyon analogy, and I use this all the time with my clients because I do a lot of goal setting with them. You know, imagine that you're on the edge of the Grand Canyon, and where you want to be is on the other side of the Grand Canyon. What you want badly is on the other side. Now, you're not going to jump off the side of the Grand Canyon in hopes of making it to the other side, because you're not going to like what happens. What you want to do actually is hike down to the bottom of the canyon, hike across and back up again to get to where you want to be. And you do that by making those small baby step achievable goals, something that's realistic for you. That way it makes your end goal, you know, where you want to be, that much easier, because it's not realistic for you to work all day on a goal and achieve it. That's not usually, especially when it comes to self-esteem, that's not how it works. First, you have to have a vision for what you want, and then you need to break it down into baby steps to get a better idea of what it's going to take to get there. The good news is that there are several different ways that you can work on avoiding those mistakes that we just talked about. So I've listed my top 4 recommendations for the beginning of your self-love and acceptance journey. And the first one is practice authenticity. So essentially, being authentic is the opposite of fake. Faking anything has not worked for many people and clients that I know of, at least. Self-acceptance means being your authentic self. Living in your truth and being okay with that truth is what helps you to love who you are. Practicing authenticity in your daily routine is a better beginning to self-love. So it's time to take off that mask and show who you really are. And in my recommendations, it's going to be several things to help you get to know yourself a little bit, because I have a feeling that you've been wearing that mask for a while. And so you might not have a good idea of who you are, and that's okay. And that's a beautiful thing. You get to find out who you are. My second recommendation, and this is probably my biggest one, is make peace with your past. Get a counselor or a therapist, a life coach, talk to a trusted friend, mentor, pastor, whoever you need to talk to. You will not be able to move forward with self-love until you do. Because our past is a part of our story. We can't get rid of it, and we can't run from it forever. It catches up with us every single time. My third recommendation is get a clear vision with where you want to be. This means that you're going to have to make an honest evaluation about yourself. You're going to have to realize and admit where you are right now and why you no longer want to be there. And from there, make small realistic goals that you know that you can achieve. And my fourth recommendation is practice mindfulness. Being present in everyday life will help you to understand how you're feeling and get up more in tune with your mind and your body. This makes self-acceptance and authenticity more realistic. You cannot be authentic and self-accepting if you're constantly avoiding and disconnecting from yourself. So those are my top 4 recommendations. Do we have any questions before I move on? I see a no. Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that it's being useful to you. Further recommendations for you to get started. So there are so many resources out there that will help you on this incredible and brave journey that you're choosing to go on. So here are some of my favorite books, and I might be a little obsessed with Brene Brown, mainly just because what she teaches and the way she teaches it is just phenomenal. So that whole left column there are books by Brene Brown. So I thought it was just me, but it isn't. I believe that was her first one, and then it goes to The Gifts of Imperfection, Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, and Braving the Wilderness. Now, recently I've got into Feeling Good, the new mood therapy, the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, the Self-Love Experiment, the Little Book of Mindfulness, and the Self-Esteem Workbook. Now, the Self-Esteem Workbook I use with my clients all the time, and it's actually not necessarily for, clinicians or professionals. It's actually for people who want to do the work. So it's got easy to understand education stuff. It's got worksheets for you to do. It's a great workbook to use. So those are just a few of my book suggestions for you to get started. Other recommendations for you are to get to know yourself a little bit better. So to do this, I've listed a few different things for you. The first is the Myers-Briggs short version personality test. And this one's free. You know, you can take the full version, but that one costs money. But I do like the short version because it is pretty predictable and it's pretty valid. So I've taken it probably 5 times over the course of 10 years, and it's only changed once when I became more introverted. So it is pretty predictable, and it's pretty valid. You know, it describes me perfectly. So I encourage you to do that. Get to know your personality a little bit better. The second one that I have for you is a simple guided meditation. It is a YouTube video, and it's a great way to get started because it is only 9 minutes long, and you can do it anywhere, and it is guided, so you have somebody walking you through it the whole time. So if you are newer to the meditation practice or you're newer to the mindfulness area of things, this is a good starter. And my last recommendation for you today is get to know yourself a little bit more through journaling. And it doesn't have to be free writing, because for some people like me, free writing is very, very difficult. I've got ADHD, and so for me to just sit down and start writing what's on my mind is next to impossible. So what I did instead is I found a bunch of quotes and journal prompts that helped me stay organized, and it did wonders for me. So what I did was I provided the Pinterest board that I have for journal prompts and quotes and stuff like that, and I'm giving it to you. That way, if you do want some of those resources to help you start journaling, they're there for you. And I will give you a minute to write these down, but just know that I will be sending out in my follow-up email, I'm giving you all of my suggestions there as well. I want to take this time now to thank you for joining me today. I hope it was really helpful for you and better understanding, why you feel the way you do about yourself and what to do about it. So I want to take this time now and offer you question and answer time because, sometimes we need that clarification. Also, if you did enjoy what you saw here, go ahead and check me out at my website here at mysimpleserenity.com. Also, if you did like what you heard today and you want more, I offer an 8-week course that is centrally focused on the 3 biggest mistakes we talked about today, and we dive right into how to a self-love and acceptance journey. The course is called Next Level Love, and it includes 8 modules that get really, really deep into your self-esteem and your self-worth, and this is what it looks like. We'll go over feelings identification and kind of getting you used to getting tuned into your body and your feelings. We go into more detailed self-esteem basics. We go into the inner workings of self-esteem, and from there we go dive right into those negative core beliefs and challenging those negative core beliefs. We also address your fears, because fears is huge when it comes to self-esteem. And we also go into the beginning of self-love and acceptance. We talk about self-respect and boundaries. And finally, we do develop a daily practice of self-love. Now, I think it's time for you to commit to your own self-love journey. So what does the Next Level Love course include? It includes all 8 modules, lifetime access. So you can log in anytime you want, look at any module you want. I mean, of course, they are recommended to do in order, but you can look at any of them that you want at any time. And in each module, you get handouts and implementations for you to do on your own time to better help you make the changes in your life that you want to change. So along with that, you get 10 follow-up emails with me for consistent support and guidance, because what you're doing, this journey that you're on, can be very powerful, and sometimes you need clarification and you need some guidance, and that is what those emails are for. Now, when it comes to pricing, I usually charge individually in session $130. Now, $130 per session for 8 weeks is $1,100. And again, I understand in this economy with the affordability of healthcare, that's not feasible for most people. So what I'm doing for you today is I'm offering you $30 per course, and that saves you $100 per course, and over that 8-week time span, $900. And again, that's lifetime access, so you can come and go as you please for as long as you please. One-time payment of $240, or we can break it down into payment plans. Just one example is 8 payments of $35. Now, if 8 payments does not work for you, we can work something out. I am flexible because I want you to get the help you deserve and that you need to feel better about yourself. So I will work with you, whatever you need. On top of all of that, if you join today, you are going to receive a bonus. It is exclusive membership into my private Facebook group for the course. Now, this is a $30 value. I usually charge 30 bucks, but for you today, it will be free. Just use this promo code FB for Facebook 002. Now, the private Facebook group is for community support and that additional support for me. So I plan on doing, weekly live events where you bring me questions, you bring me your insights. If you need support, if you want to present something to other members of the group, do that. This is a great resource for you to get that support from other people who are doing the course as well. Now, it's great too because it is private and only people who are taking the course even know it exists. So everybody that you will get support from is on the same journey, which is great. So here is what you get. You get lifetime access to the 8-week course, and of course, if you want to take longer than 8 weeks, you've got that lifetime access. You get the 10 follow-up emails with me to enhance your experience. If you have questions or if you need support or guidance, whatever you need, those are there for you. And today only, you get free membership into my private Facebook group for free. That is what you get with the course. Again, I really think it's time for you to commit to loving yourself. It is a new day and it is going to be a new you. So if this is something that you think is going to be good for you, please join. Here's the link for you to be able to enroll today. Now, I went ahead and copy and pasted this link into the chat box to make it a little bit easier on you guys. So go ahead and enroll today. I encourage you. It is the best decision that you will make for yourself when it comes to self-esteem. So again, thank you all for joining me today. God bless and good luck.